Puff and the Incredible Mr. Nobody. The Beast Beyond Pasghettiland, Chapter 4. Once they were past the gate, Puff said, "I knew you could write a poem by yourself." Terry shook his head sadly. "Nah, I was thinking of nobody. Besides, I think your pencil is magic." Puff sighed. How could he ever convince this child? A few miles farther, they came to a fork in the road. They had to consult the map. "The Duck Pond of Delights is straight ahead," said Terry, reading from the map. "Proceed through landscape," it says. "What landscape?" "The one right in front of you," answered Puff. Terry looked up to find a huge picture frame that appeared suddenly. It framed a spectacular rendering of Terry's old pasghettiland painting. "Wow, Puff! That's so real looking, I bet we could walk right into it." "Why not? This is the fantaverse. Come along." He took Terry by the hand and led him into the picture. "Ah," said Puff, "a nation of noodles, a principality of pasta, a metropolis of macaroni." Suddenly, Puff stopped and pointed toward a raging, steaming red river which lay ahead of them directly in their path. Terry tried to find it on the map. "Here it is, Puff, the Marinara River." "I had a feeling it wasn't the Mississippi." "The directions say, draw a boat to get across." "Clever," said Puff, looking about. "Aha! There are pencils and paints over there." He led Terry to a large pile of art supplies near the riverbank. Terry pulled back, unsure again. I can't draw any more. Not without nobody." "Then I suppose it's up to me," sighed Puff, grabbing a paintbrush. He swirled it about and painted a huge banana in midair. Being a magic dragon, he didn't need a canvas or a piece of paper to make a picture. "We can't cross a river on a banana," moaned Terry. "I'll try again," chuckled Puff, waving the brush about and creating a rocking chair. "A rocking chair is no good, Puff. A boat. We need a boat." Puff swirled the paintbrush once more and ended up with a perfect copy of Whistler's mother. He stepped back to admire his work. "Definitely not seaworthy," said Puff, shrugging helplessly. He wiped his artwork away. "It's up to you, Terry. A pasghetti boat to cross the Marinara River." Terry shuddered. "But I can't paint silly stuff like that. My teacher said it was dumb and not real." "You mean she didn't share your vision, child?" Terry was puzzled. "What are you talking about?" he asked. "Your teacher was the drab, old, ordinary world most of us know. Here, let me show you." He took a deep breath and blew a smoke ring. And like all of Puff's magic smoke rings, this showed things as they really were. He and Terry looked through the ring and saw what appeared to be the world. But this world had a face that looked quite gloomy. A stuffy little felt hat was plopped on top, completely covering the North Pole, and little arms and legs poked out from below. Puff, of course, seemed to be on familiar terms. "What's new, Mr. World?" The world could only groan wearily. Terry couldn't believe what he was seeing. "Is that what the world's really like?" he asked. "Unless someone like you comes along," answered Puff. He reached into his pocket and produced a pair of colored glasses which glittered magically. "Here, look at the world through Terry color glasses." He popped the glasses onto Terry, who looked at Mr. World again. A remarkable change had taken place. The happy old world was bursting with every color of the rainbow. He danced about giddily, and for a hat, he wore a feathered saucepan. "I really make Mr. World like that?" asked Terry, unbelieving. "You, and a precious handful like you," answered Puff. Be you a dozen or a million, you give the gift of a vision unique. He took the glasses from Terry and glanced through them himself. Better than Broadway, he grinned happily, and then caused them to disappear in a puff of golden smoke. Terry, he continued, you can reach up and place a star in the sky, so don't worry what people say, people who can't even screw in a light bulb. A little bit awed and terribly encouraged for the moment, Terry grabbed the paintbrush and swirled it about. A nifty little sailboat appeared with a rigatoni hull and a large lasagna noodle for a sail. You did it! Roared Puff. The SS Paschetti if ever I saw it. A little later, as they were sailing across the river, Terry had second thoughts. Maybe it wasn't me, he muttered. Maybe I could paint this boat only because I was wearing nobody's hat. Puff sighed. What will it take to convince this child? He wondered. He suddenly got an idea. He puckered up and blew with all his might. The wind he raised caused the saucepan to fly off Terry's head. Puff! The wind blew nobody's hat away! Guess you're on your own now, said Puff casually. About halfway across the river changed from red to blue, and all sights and smells of Paschetti seemed to vanish. Instead, Terry could hear the far-off tinkling of piano keys. Once ashore, Puff and Terry found that they had landed at Kleptomania, the kingdom of music. Terry consulted his map. They were getting nearer and nearer to the fabulous duck pond of delights. Kleptomania was perhaps the most fantastic-looking place in the entire fantaverse. The main road was like a huge piano keyboard stretching to the horizon. Music notes hung from the trees, and the trees themselves resembled giant music clefs. Musical instruments seemed to be growing all over. There were violins, horns, drums, trumpets, harps, and trombones. The map says to proceed harmoniously through, said Terry, as he and Puff walked into the long shadows cast by 3 giant stone heads. They were the same as the busts in the music teacher's studio, likenesses of Mozart, Beethoven, and Bach. At the sound of Terry's voice, they seemed to come to life. Harmony! Ha! rumbled Beethoven. There is no more harmony. Ach, Ludwig, you give up too easily, purred the bust of Mozart. Am I correct, Johann Sebastian? The bust of Bach frowned and shook its head glumly. Nein, Wolfgang, it said to Mozart. It is you who are too optimistic. What is going on around here? Asked Puff, looking up at the huge heads. A terrible savage beast holds all of kleptomania in its power, answered Beethoven. We are helpless, sighed Bach. I've heard that music has charms to soothe the savage beast, said Puff. Surely you fellows can make music. Mozart snorted. And how can we play music? We've got no hands. We're such busts, said Bach. Suddenly there was a terrible, terrible noise, as if every musical instrument in the entire world were in one huge orchestra, and the whole orchestra was playing a sour note. It's the savage beast, cried all 3 busts at once. That's the end of chapter 4. Please subscribe.